Hello and welcome to another episode on my YouTube channel. Today I'm here with Yogesh. Yogesh, what are we going to talk about today?
So today we are going to talk about something that every DevOps professional experiences at some point, and that's the instinct to automate everything, right? And with AI now that is entering into the CI/CD and platforms, this instinct is even getting stronger. But in real systems, automation doesn't always solve the problem, and it sometimes scales your problem. So the discussion really is about where automation and AI genuinely helps us and where it hurts us.
And that's very controversial in industry and also controversial to some of the things that I've been sharing on my channel. So I'm really eager to have this conversation with you today, and that's also why I invited you. As you are not like that known yet in the community, Yogesh, tell me a bit. Who are you? What the hell do you do? Where are you dialing in from? And then before we dive into the topic.
Okay, so yeah, I'm basically a DevOps cloud engineer with 14, 15 years of experience in the industry. I'm basically dialing out of Bangalore, India. Currently in my real life, I'm working as a DevOps engineer for a top telecom provider out of Europe. I mostly handle multi-cloud infrastructure automations, Terraform, Kubernetes, and CI/CDing the code and all those stuff. So, that's where I'm. That's what I'm at real life, and I'm recently been chosen to be a AWS community builder. So I'm really looking forward to helping community with various stuff. I've been into uh, blogging and writing technical articles for multiple providers. So yeah, that's who I am, and that's what I do.
Thank you for sharing. And that means in the Community Builders program, which is a program that is open to everybody in the world to apply. I think intake process is always in January. Which category are you part of?
So I'm part of the cloud operations cohort, and yeah, that's what my career has been into. So yeah, that's
Cool. Yeah. Welcome to the community. And I think that's always inspiring to get people to talk about things that they learn from their day to day experience. And I think that's where I would like to start with the conversation today. If you look at your day to day job, what are you doing on a day to day basis? And how did that change compared to 1 or 2 years ago?
so yeah, cool. So yeah, again, on the day-to-day basis, my job involves writing infrastructure as a code, where we are trying to provision applications on either Kubernetes or standalone EC2s or anything on GCP. So primarily multi-cloud, right? So and the the core principles of DevOps has always been to automate things, right? And uh, you know, uh, I've always been involved in those automations, be it through something like inherently supports infrastructure like Terraform or cloud formations, or automating things using Python or Bash. So that's always has been a core principle of DevOps, where we try to automate a lot of things, right? Uh, but of late, we've seen that with AI into the picture, uh, you know the the change in story has been that you need to automate everything, right? You want to uh, utilize AI to automate as much as possible, even if there might be things and patterns where you really don't need automation, right?
Let
So
me stop you
uh,
there before we go into the AI conversation and the parts that we see. We're recording this video in, I would say, early 2026. That means what we're talking about today, especially in the AI front, might be outdated again in 2 weeks from now. That's how industry is developing right now. But I want to pause and talk just a tiny bit about your perspective of DevOps, because you just alluded to DevOps mainly being a lot of automational past tasks. That's not how I've been explaining DevOps in the past, right? So why is DevOps mainly seen as automation from your perspective?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. So, if you take traditional ops, right, even before DevOps as a term was coined, and you had this traditional ops where it was primarily Linux engineers, Linux admins, right, who are into the operations, who would do a lot of things manual, right? And you had basically the rack servers, so you would go to rack, you would plug in your wires, you replace the hard disk, and so a lot of things was manual, right? And even
Hmm.
installing operating systems, right? I mean, you had to manually do it, right? Uh, but as things moved into virtualization and then into the cloud, we saw that there were a lot of manual things that were automated, right? And uh, an operations engineer had to then learn how to basically code, how he could convert OSs into, say, images, right? And have the scripts that would run at the starting of the operating system boot up into something called user data in AWS, right? So uh, operations engineers started learning how to automate those things. So I think that is where I feel that something from a manual operation effort switch kicked into automation, and that's where DevOps was born out of. And I think this is just what I believe is the background for the DevOps.
Okay, and I think that's a very valid assessment. Um, I'm a little bit more on the books of DevOps, like things like the Phoenix project
Yeah,
that was written a few years ago. I think it's
yeah,
11 years or 12 years now
correct.
since that book came out, right? For me, DevOps was always
Yes,
more the cultural aspect of
yes,
things, and
correct.
automation was just a component of that. And I think it's okay and fair to say that industry has softened those standards and especially or those understandings, and especially if you look at the different job titles and job descriptions, DevOps titles always means exactly what you have been kind of just saying, right? And that's where I understand that industry shapes it like that. But for me, the main aspect of DevOps was more the cultural of bringing development and operations back together and ensuring that teams that traditionally were separated need to collaborate more and need to work together to be able to achieve the best, highest customer experience.
Definitely.
Now,
I
the
think definitely I agree with you on that, right? And I think not just the culture, but if in the organizations, current organizations, we even call them as processes, right? Where you have these set of processes that, in addition to the automation, these processes need to be followed as a part of DevOps, right? And so, yeah, I totally agree with you.
yeah, and now let's go back to the automation aspect. Like in the article, and we're going to add that to the show notes below. In the article that we've been talking about, let's do that again. And if you agree with the assessment of what DevOps is, and if you don't agree to what we just discussed, please put a comment in the YouTube if you want to, because we're interested to hear also how you look at DevOps in today. Now, in the article that we're talking about, and I'm going to put that into the show notes, we have also a statement that kind of says you shouldn't automate everything. However, I've been talking a lot about, okay, we need to ensure that our CI/CD pipelines are automated so we can push everything to production without manual intervention. Why are you contradicting that, and where do you think are the risks in automating every step?
I'll bring this point across as a infrastructure engineer, as a platform engineer. That's what my forte has been. So even in infrastructure or platform engineering, we do put emphasis on automation, and we do have all our code CI/CD, version controlled, and all those stuff. So it's not like we don't want to do that, but with infrastructure, especially there are certain caveats for completely automating everything, right? Again, as an example, I could include something like a Terraform, right? A lot of times you don't want to make a change in a Terraform code, and you just don't want to plan it and then apply it without a human intervention, without a review. And again, the reason is quite simple, right? In infrastructure, even if you think that you might be pretty sure that nothing's changing, the Terraform plan output is something that you need to review, right? You just don't want to automate even that, because it might be questioned between a great automation versus something going terribly wrong. And in that case, you want to be sure to know what would be the blast radius, what would be the downtime that you are looking at, if there are issues, how complex is the rollback. So yeah, I mean, these points helps us try to find the hidden dependencies, basically. So that is where my view lies in.
Okay, so can you come up with an example of where you think something you shouldn't be automated?
Yeah, right. So again, right, if I had to say something like in you're going for an infrastructure change where you are trying to change maybe a security group rule, right? And again, so you might think it's a low risk thing, and you want to automate it, and you just go through the change where you have put your changes in the code, and you run through the CI part, and you have a Terraform plan output. Now you might think it is low risk, and you just let it run through completely and apply. But then the Terraform plan output will tell you minor details like the group rule which is going to be changed might actually be deleted and recreated, right? Now in those cases, as an infrastructure engineer, you know that you'll face some sort of connection outages, right? And that is where you can that is where you can have some manual intervention, right? Like you can say that, okay, wait, I don't want to do this now. This is a peak traffic time, right? And let me do it, say, sometime when it is non-peak. So this is just one of the examples, and there might be many.
So that's more like having certain steps of taking a decision, right? In
Right.
terms of protecting your own business. I think that's how I'm hearing it, right? But it's
Exactly
still,
right.
but does that still mean that like the processes behind that is something that you would still want to automate?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, process is definitely that we want to automate, but it is just not the technical automation that we are looking at, right? I mean, process automation again could be something like a good documentation, a good handoff, good KPs, and all those things. But it is not just the code level automation that we want to rely on.
So what you're in fact saying is that in today's and day-to-day world, it's important that decision points are not always automated and that humans are still in the loop to take the important decisions. Is that appropriate?
That is pretty much appropriate, Johannes. Again, to highlight my point, I could also, give another example where, there's a lot of discussions around this on the forums and stuff that, a lot of code now is being written using AI. But at the same time, you do want human reviewers in the middle, right? So human judgment, human review, human decision is something that shouldn't be automated. Is what, in my experience.
But AI makes it so much simpler, right? To be honest, maybe I think an AI agent or AI in general understands my deployment potentially better than any human can ever do, right? So why shouldn't I give the AI all of the context and all of the information that it needs to take an appropriate decision?
So I think there are multiple uh, faces to this, right? Yeah, like you said, AI definitely helps with a lot of things. AI would understand our code, our infra much better. But what AI doesn't understand is, say, the business use cases, right? The again, there are processes which might not be so common across, say, one organization to the other. There are certain, like you said, culture also, right? There are cultures which are different, and there are things that might be pretty unique to each situation, right? And AI does not understand that, right? Uh, so again, if I had to again put it as an example, right? I mean, yeah, if you had a Terraform, like my previous example, if you had a Terraform output, and you could use AI to summarize it, or put highlight things on it, but you can never have AI again approving those changes, because AI wouldn't know that when a security group rule is changing, that there would be some some impact on traffic, which might be peak for you, right? So for those particular situations, I believe that a human judgment is something that really ultimately helps.
And I think that's a very fair assessment. We are all talking about how agents and AI will do everything in the future. And I think I agree with your assessment of that being a big risk, right? Because
Yeah.
it's always important to also learn from the experience of the humans that are involved in this, right? Because, yes, the different models can be trained on general industry best practices, but we all know that the application that you're responsible for always has a special thing that no one else knows, and that also the large language models cannot know and cannot understand, right? Um, what do you think? What are we going to talk about in half a year or in 2 years? Are we going to have the same conversations, or do you see this is evolving and is changing?
This is definitely going to evolve. So yeah, I think again, in my view, I think we really want to draw a line where an AI is an assistant versus the owner of the infrastructure, right? I mean, we would continue to discuss this, in coming years, but I think the lines that are drawn might be different from that they are drawn now, right? Because right now with technology being so nascent, I think there is lack of understanding generally across society on where to draw those lines. Like, again, what we started this conversation as, right? I mean, automate everything is what a lot of people believe in, but you know. People will start understanding more where to draw lines. So I think uh, 2 years down the line, I see that the conversations would evolve, but where we are drawing lines might change. So that's my view.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on the, as you just said, like the ownership that AI takes on the infrastructure and how this will evolve, right?
Right, right.
Do you think so? Do you fear that AI is going to kind of replace you as an engineer in the next 2 years or in the next 3 years, or not yet?
Not yet. I don't think so. Again, I've seen quite a few places where we can really leverage AI to help us. But I still don't see how it can be totally replaced. There are a lot of decisions that a senior DevOps engineer needs to take, and I don't see AIs replacing them yet.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I think I agree with that, right? Um, What are you most excited about in the current industry? Like at the moment, there is a lot of movements. As I said, like everything that we talk about AI can be outdated in 2 months or 2 weeks. What excites you at the current state of your career?
I think right now it just what excites me is that using these tools that we have today, enables me to learn more of the other skills, like some of the niche skills, like a senior DevOps engineer can have, right? So let's say I'm heavy on infrastructure and on the automation of platform and that side of things, but observability is something that I interest me. So with using the opportunities right now where I could automate a lot of things, or you leverage AI to help me on the infrastructure and platform side, and I can free up some time to learn more on the observability side, right? So just an example. So basically AI allows me to have that time, that freedom, and that pace where I could learn more skills. Again, something that I feel interested in.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yogesh, how can people reach out to you if they want to follow up on the conversation? If they don't want to use YouTube comments, where can they find you?
Okay, so I can, I do have an active Medium, blogging profile where I'm quite, monitoring for any comments, anything, any suggestions that I have. So that's one thing. I can also, link my LinkedIn profile here so that folks can reach out to me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to anyone who might have any discussions on the same.
Cool. Cool. Thank you very much for taking the time to record this one with me. I think it's a very hot topic in industry. Also, we all need to learn on how to take those decisions for our own career and our own day-to-day activities, right? Where and where not to use AI is a key decisioning point in 2026. I hope that you enjoyed the session. Looking forward to the next one. If you have any topics that you would like to see, also let me know in the comments or reach out to me on the different channels where I'm based on. So thank you very much for watching until the end, and see you again soon. Bye, Yogesh.
See you, Jans. Nice talking to you.